Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Rishda Mahfuza binti Muhammad. My matric number 1192689. Today our group will present about the sociology of indigenous people, a guide for Muslim preachers.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nur Madia binti Syamsul Bari. I would like to present to you our Da'wah program. This study is about Da'wah effort among Muslim preachers to indigenous people in Kampung Sungai Buah Dingkil. The study also shown a persuasive strategy of Muslim preachers and behavior in conveying pure value toward indigenous people through this Da'wah program.
Introduction. Indigenous people are a minority in Malaysia, living on the outskirts of the three main ethnic groups, which is Malays, Chinese and Indians. Indigenous people have a negative opinion about Islam's teachings. This is due to their lack of educational background, as they are not exposed to Islam and rare unaware to contemporary events. Therefore, da'wah work to the indigenous needs to be done so that they can know more about the teachings of Islam. Delivering the call of Islam is a duty imposed by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala on all Muslims. The term da'wah refers to more than only the method of imparting the message or concept of Islam verbally. It also refers to da'wah programs, morals and image development. The indigenous people's da'wah activities are unique in that they are a community in severe need of guidance, particularly from Muslims, so that they can be exposed to Islam in a proper way. The work of da'wah is not an easy thing because it involves the problem of changing the belief and understanding of human life. The preacher will be confronted with numerous objectives from various aspects in this da'wah campaign, including beliefs, customs and traditions, way of life, standards of thinking, education and others. All this demands the preacher to have a solid preparation of knowledge, physical and spiritual.
My name is Nurul Nabiha binti Yusli. My matric number 1191371. So today I will present about the problem statement. To preach to the indigenous people community in Malaysia also has many possible problems and obstacles that can delay the acceptance of Islam by them. Preacher is the main core in determining the success of da'wah. A preacher who has the ability of knowledge, mental, physical and spiritual endurance, as well as having knowledge on how to form and diversity the methods and approach of his preaching through various method, wasail and others based on the diversity of his target will be a successful preacher. Among the main problems faces in preaching to the indigenous people community in Malaysia is the preacher's lack of appropriate and effective method to convey the message to the indigenous people. One of the issues that can be taken seriously, according to Zulkifli, is focusing on how to improve preachers' communication abilities. They should be introduced to various parts of communication skills, such as the capacity to communicate with people by clearly, effectively and confidently communicating ideas in writing or orally. According to Samsudin, effective communication skill in the delivery of a message to a target group that influence the recipient behavior is in accordance with the communication function in terms of persuasion.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Fatih binti Omar. My matric number 1191363. Now I will continue with problem statement. The lack of preachers who are able to live in indigenous village is due to various challenges and difference in the way of preaching to this community. This situation is closely related to the beliefs, customs, and ways of life of those who are backward, as well as those who live far inland. The majority of preachers who undertake da'wah within the indigenous people lack the necessary abilities and appetites, resulting in immoral attitudes. For example, in the town of Penderas Pahang, a preacher once helped on indigenous kid and forcibly compelled the youngsters to repeat 2 words of Shahada. The locals do not approve of this strategy. Even though the incident occurred many years ago, it is still remembered.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Aisha binti Rumaino. My metric number 1191353. Okay, next I will continue the problem statement. Thus, Khairuddin stated that one of the reasons given by the indigenous people for rejecting Islam is inappropriate behavior by the Malay community nearby. The Malay community has performed acts that deviate from the basic principles of Islam, such as not fasting, consuming alcohol, and failing to conduct Friday prayers. There are even Malay youth who sell alcohol in the indigenous people's communities. While the speaker at the time was preaching on the positive values provided by religion Islam, which bans drinking and makes prayer mandatory, the Malay community nearby should serve as examples and role models for the indigenous people group. These issues will motivate people to practice the ideas taught by Islam and ultimately to choose Islam as their way of life. Next, our goals for this project is to giving exposure to the preachers on the appropriate and effective ways of delivering da'wah to the indigenous. Next objective. First, to provide preachers with training on how to communicate effectively with the indigenous community. Second, to inculcate in the preacher an attitude of leadership. And lastly, to know the important topics that are suitable in conveying da'wah to the indigenous. Okay, lastly, the outcome. The preachers know how to deliver da'wah correctly and effectively and can prevent the emergence of something unpleasant and liked by the indigenous community. It is important to adopt a strategy in delivering the content or message of da'wah with the needs of the target of da'wah so that it is easy to accept, understand, and the desire to appreciate it. That's all from me. Thank you.
Plan of work, narrative or project description. First, project overview. This project was made because there are a handful of preachers who preach to the indigenous community in a reckless manner. Furthermore, preachers lack the ability of communication, knowledge, mental, physical, as well as strong spiritual endurance. In addition, the preacher did not diversity his preaching methods and approach through various styles. Second, project organisation. The project was organised by Da'wah students, Year 3, for which we were divided into 4 groups. Each group has a responsibility to implement this project. Students gather all the information related issues and ensure the project runs smoothly. Third, statement of opportunity. We held this project to emphasize the importance of preaching in the right way to the indigenous community. The da'wah approach to attract the interest of the indigenous community require an appropriate approach and can lead to building their relationship and trust in the da'wah.
Next is statement of impact. Among the effects of this project that we are organizing is to be able to produce an indigenous community that is knowledgeable about Islam. In addition, it will also create preacher with integrity to the community. Next, be able to strengthen the relationship between the preacher and the natives. Project objective. We start this project to give exposure to the preachers on the appropriate and effective ways of delivering da'wah to the indigenous people. This project also supports the nature of leadership that must be present in the preacher so that the preaching is delivered using methods that are appropriate to the current situation. Project scope. Project scope is about the issue highlights are related to the education, namely preaching about Islam to indigenous community. These issues needs to be emphasized to create a knowledgeable society. Evaluation. Evaluation is the systematic collecting of information about a program or service, making judgments about its effectiveness and delivering feedback to the program. To enhance a program and help them be responsible for the prudent use of resources, evaluation entails asking excellent, critical questions about them. The answer from the indigenous people, who are the ideal venue for us to convey the message to them, will determine if our initiative is effective or not. This Dawah program can assist us in determining whether people are sincerely devoted to altering their lifestyle. We will also inquire about Islamic fundamental rules such as those pertaining to prayer. In Islam, the community is the focus of the da'wah, and comprehending the community and its culture is essential. Missionaries can only interact more successfully with the people involved if they understand their culture. This way, we can prevent a preacher from behaving unethically, like demeaning the indigenous people. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nur Aini Mardia binti Syamsul Bahari, matric number 1191433. I would like to present about our organizational capability. This Dawah organization purpose is to help indigenous people to be better Muslim in future with the guidance of their preachers. In agreement with our organization, which frequently collaborate with well-known non-governmental organizations and prominent public figures to carry out Dawah programs in this neighborhood. Furthermore, counseling meetings with indigenous families, Islamic entertainment program, and other activities were among the items provided for them. This Dawah program approach with goal of our organization that is known as Dawah for indigenous people for being a better Muslim. On the contrary, we have some people in our organizational competent who are well versed in dealing with entrepreneurship projects and are in charge of their own businesses. While we implement this Dawah initiative, we entitled Dawah from Preachers to Muslim in Need. As a result of their skill and experience, they may be able to serve as mentor to our organization for conduct this Dawah program successfully. This initiative, in conjunction with our collaboration with Yayasan Pembangunan Ekonomi Islam Malaysia (YAPIM), will assist us in capital management, which will be used to carry out this Dawah campaign for the less fortunate Muslim.
Personnel and staffing pattern, organizational chart of the committee members. So in this project we have the chairman, namely Mahazan Abdul Muttalib. Next, deputy chairman Muhammad Hashim. Next, head director Aisha binti Umaino. Deputy head director Nurul Nabiha binti Yusli. Secretary Nur Ishda Mahfuzah binti Muhammad. Treasurer Nur Aini Mardiah binti Samsul Bahari. Next, technical equipment coordinator Dalila Yamna binti Azmi. Next, publicity Iman binti Bakar. And lastly, program coordinator Nurul Fatihah binti Umar.
Continuation or sustainability. We are certain that the initiative we have put in the place throughout this Dawah project will be effective. Following the completion of the program, a 3-month follow-up will be conducted. Furthermore, this follow-up will continue to work with Yayasan Pembangunan Ekonomi Islam Malaysia (YAPIM) as our organization's partner in order to assist our organization in resolving financial issues. As a result, the continuation and sustainability of our Dawah project will be effective in terms of the Dawah program that we have done to assist indigenous people in Kampung Sungai Buah, Dengkil.
Budget and budget narrative. The budget will be divided into two components in our Dawah project, which is financing budget and budget expenditure. Note that this budget is for 2 days 1 night. For financing budget, external sponsors, which is from Majlis Agama Islam Selangor, MAIS, RM8,500. Others from public contribution, 6,000 ringgit. External sponsors. Committee members will make a letter for sponsorship application from Majlis Agama Islam Selangor (MAIS) to make this program for 2 days and 1 night. This program will be interspersed with activities that can further strengthen the teaching of Islam while giving a small contribution to their families. Others, committee members, will advertise posters on social media such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and others to solicit contribution from the public. Budget expenditure: banquet 9,000 ringgit, transportation 2,000 ringgit, souvenirs 3,000 ringgit, technical 200 and others 300. The banquet, which is food and drinks, will be provided for free for all participants and the committee to make sure they have the energy to go through all the slots at the program. The free food during this program is a big help as all the participants are from poor families. Transportation facilities will be provided to all student committee members as well as volunteers involved to get to the program venue. Souvenirs are provided to be given to all families involved, which with each activity carried out during the program. Technical for the equipment needed while holding the program, such as speakers, mic, and others. In conclusion, sociological studies can help us understand the issues hovering in our society. The problem of religion among indigenous people, for example, is an inevitable issue. But that does not mean we can sit still and do nothing about the problem. There are many NGOs that can play an important role in addressing these problems in Malaysia. Therefore, not only NGO but also the Muslim community need to help the indigenous people in religious matters, because Muslims are very much required to preach to each other or to preach to people of different religions. Thus, the indigenous people will be able to understand more deeply the teachings of Islam. That is why we as a Dakwah organization are stepping forward and organizing this program for the indigenous people in the hope of helping more indigenous people out of religious problems. Basically, we help the indigenous people, Muslims, to become a better version of themselves in terms of religion, Islam, which will then help them focus their life on serving Allah.